what are you most excited about? Assuming that AI is properly monitored, properly managed, and is used for all of the forces of good. What are you most excited to see in the games that we play going forward?
Accessibility features, for God's sake. For God's sake. Yeah.
I was literally about to say.
Sorry. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
We can both say accessibility, but yes, it's an obvious one, isn't it? It's a no-brainer. And it could be so easily implemented across like a whole plethora of different types of games. If the AI is trained to spot like barriers to access, say for example, it could be like, oh, you need to do this, and this, and then it could be programmed to correct it or to make it, to open up the access and just make it so much easier for so many more people to play who've never had the opportunity before. It opens the world up to player choice and player freedom, and having that choice and access to things that a lot of us never have had the chance to do before, which is, I think, one of the most exciting things, as Matt was saying. But you can continue saying, Matt, if you'd like.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So for me, for example, so basically my dream is an accessibility suite of for Unreal Engine, because that's what I'm working with, that you drag and drop it into the project that you're making, and you've got this massive suite of AAA standard accessibility suite features, because all of the things that have been in The Last of Us and God of War, they are all, in terms of like actual technology, they are extremely simple. If I was a studio, or if I knew how to properly write code, there is a way for me to, rather than having to painstakingly replace every single texture in a game, there's a way to automate that process. There will be a very, very simple coding script that could automatically take these things and load them into it. But no one has bothered to look. And then that's where artificial intelligence can be used to do all that legwork and add those things to the game. So that should be a massive revolutionary thing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, actually. When I was researching for today's session, I came across sort of a list of things that AI was going to bring to the gaming world. And what was really interesting, actually, was that I just did a search for AI in gaming, and I didn't find anyone really talking about a lot of the negative things that we talked about in the last episode. And I think that's a little bit of a worry, but that was just an aside. But what I did come across was one of the things they were talking about was about the idea of adaptive gameplay. So games that learn how you play and then adapt to and match the content and pitch the content at your gaming style. So if they notice that you're a slow reader, or you always struggle to line your gun up and stuff, they could maybe slow the conversation down, or help give you support with aiming. That's what I would need, and things like that. So I think obviously that's not the same sort of level of accessibility changes that you both talked about, but it might help to help the game to slowly adapt to your needs and your gameplay style without you needing to even press a button. It would just grab from this toolbox that Matt has designed for them, and and say, okay, this person might need this, or this person might need that, and and I think that I don't know how you feel about this, but I always have the subtitles on when I'm watching TV.
Yeah.
And this is because I have hearing problems, but it's also because I have concentration problems, and I'm not listening. And so so I always have it on, and it really annoys me that on some channels, for example, Now TV, you always have to go in and tell it to put the subtitles on. It doesn't remember your setting. And I feel like that is actually ableist, that it's forcing me to go in and say, I don't know, I need this extra thing, as opposed to just recognizing that I had it on last time, and so I probably want it on again until I choose to turn it off. And so that has made me really think about this in this way, that I think many people just want things to work for them, and they don't want to have to be a special case or be reminded of the fact that they're a special case. What do you
I agree. I think accessibility should never be special or extra, because it's not. It's just a human access need. We all have those to varying degrees, and so it should never be something that's an afterthought, which it clearly is for Now TV. But another thing I was thinking would be really cool is if the AI was to pick up on your gaming habits, or you might say, like, I can only play for so many hours or something, or I have not very much time to game, or if you're playing a very big game that's got a very long story and it knows you haven't been playing for a few weeks, when you load up, it could give you a little 5-minute summary of the story. Like, I know some games do that, like The Witcher, for example, but if it didn't, it would have it already prepared for you, and then maybe it could give you another 5-minute breakdown of the controls, because I always forget the controls when I haven't played a game for a very long time. Or it could have it like put the controls or hints on for the first maybe 10 minutes of your playtime, just so you can refamiliarize yourself without you having to say, oh, it's been a few weeks since I've played this game and now I'm coming back in, I need to check the controls or whatever else.
But it's really hard as well, isn't it? Because normally, as you play a game, they normally get increasingly complicated and difficult from the gameplay perspective. So if you do take a break, and in my case, it can be months. I was halfway through Horizon New Dawn and I got distracted, and I don't want to go back to that game because I know that it's going to take me like 2 hours just to remember how everything works,
and to be able to not die immediately.
Exactly. And whereas when you start the game, you're in a little baby area, and it's all sort of gentle and advising you along the way, and so I think absolutely, if the game could recognize that and give you a bit of a refresher, or just take the difficulty down for the first half hour of play or something like that. So I do think that AI might open up opportunities for that, and to understand how it might be for how people might want to play on an individual, unique level.
It reminded me again of I mentioned Malcolm X last week, and how he only ever talked about people, and he didn't care how well the most privileged black people were. He only cared about how the quality of life for the poorest and least privileged. So it's similar with this. So again, Horizon Forbidden West, an example, the haptic feedback on the controller is revolutionary. It's absolutely a stunning cutting edge of what haptic feedback can be. but you can't slow down the speed of the game. And like with, you can have the feeling the twine of a bow, but on Now TV, it forces you to change the subtitles every time. It just shows that the technology, the sophistication of technology, almost anything imaginable is possible, and not just possible, relatively easily in comparison to the haptic feedback of the controller, or the designing of the how everything looks, and the combat, and the NPCs. It comes back to, it would be effortless for a programmer could fix the Now TV problem in a day. A programmer working for one of these massive AAA companies could take an hour into, because on the Horizon games, if you hold down the button to choose your weapon, it slows time down. They could just, one of the, we've talked about in accessibility episodes before, one of the biggest barriers to, especially people who have never gamed before, to trying to play a game for the first time, is it's too fast. It's too fast for you to learn and enjoy it at the same time. Because if you're just going, oh, I need to go undertake a long learning process with boring, small, simple games before I can play the game that I want to play, that maybe think, oh, I'll try gaming, then it's pointless. Whereas it's the simplest thing possible to add a slowdown time element to any game, because the hard thing is speeding it up, because that takes more processing power. But when you play something more slowly, it takes less processing power. So the problem with so many of these problems is not the technology. We have the technology. We have the sophistication of the technology, but all the people who... So many of the people they're looking in the wrong place. They're going, oh, look at this awesome, you can feel the twine of the bows spinning. Can we just decide how fast the game's going to be, please? Can we just decide how big the subtitles are? Can we... And that is, so there's a lot of... It's a common theme of our feminism stuff and women's rights stuff, is that these things that we want are so obvious and easy and simple concepts, but we have these institutions that they get to choose what happens. And so we find ourselves so constantly banging our heads against the table going, it's right there. Can't we just have it, please?
I mean, we talked about sort of elitism and the idea of, like, casual gamers and how, disrespected they are, about the idea of playing games on easy versus, hard. I like that these days you can get quite a range now of choices when you start playing the game, where you can select, like, story mode, and there's no fighting or little fighting. And I also really like Horizon was one that did this, where they let you move from hard to easy. They let you change if you were in the middle of the game, and then go back. So, like, if you had a fight that was just you were stuck, no longer is that a problem. You just move down a level and it's a slightly easier fight. You still complete the fight, you still do the story, but you don't get stuck there forever, which, for some people, that, I think I'm sure we've all had games where we've got to a point and we get stuck, and then we don't, you don't necessarily finish that game because of that, it used to be that I would just hand the controller to somebody else and get them to do that bit. But these days, that's not. The games don't really work that way, and that you're not. You don't play in the same way, and their stories are much more involved, and the techniques are much more complex. So, I do think it's a really positive thing that they're, because at the end of the day, my daughter was playing a game, and I think it was. can't remember the name of it, but anyway, it was Strange. Life is Strange,
Yeah.
and she was getting really stressed about making one of the decisions. And I said, "Well, look it up online. Go online, see what the options are." And she was like, "But isn't that cheating?" And I was like, "Well, no, because the point of the game is to have fun. It's not a competition. You're not going to get an award at the end of it if you don't go on Google. But other search engines are available. But like it." If we can move away from this sort of elitist attitude, I think that we would have a more inclusive and more fun environment, and it would be more welcoming to people who, as Matt says, haven't gamed their whole lives. And
I've been having some thoughts while you've both been talking. Do you guys remember, did you ever play on the Wii? And it would come up after 15 minutes and be like, make sure you rest your eyes. Your eyes are going to hurt. What if that was taken a step further and say the console we were playing on would be like, you turn it on and it would be like, how are you feeling today? And then it would like select a game based on your mood, or like it would almost be like a therapy console or something. Wouldn't that be like, I would worry that would be like maybe too far in that direction. It would be like, you need to calm down. And then it would like
no, you
try
can't
and
play God
control
of
your
War
mood.
anymore.
Yeah, or something. But I think that would be the next kind of steps forward in that way, in terms of our health and well-being. Because obviously, sometimes gaming for too long can have a detrimental effect on our physical and mental health. So I guess it's thinking about, how would AI help in terms of safeguarding or helping us to look after our own well-being? That's an interesting thought. But would it be annoying if the AI interrupted you every half an hour and was like, rest your eyes, I'm going to turn the game off for 5 minutes or something?
One thing,
Yes.
anything that treats an adult like a child, I react horribly to that. I've had Alex and I were talking in the break in between. This is sort of tangentially related. Alex, you said your friend, your female friend, tried sticking their head into an Xbox group and immediately got accosted by this random stranger wanting to know sexual things about her. And this is a massive, massive, massive problem with women on the internet. Is this, especially with Instagram and OnlyFans, there's this entitlement among a massive portion of men online who feel entitled to ask, invasive. It's wanting wanting this. It's the similar thing to people like walking past you in the street and saying how much. That's basically the dynamic that is enabled through internet stuff. And there's a woman called Leia Shikkiva who is a competitive eater, and she just does loads of seeing how much she could like, she'll get a massive like sausage, and she can just put it all the way down her throat and then pull it back out again. And she has a part on her Instagram page because she does loads. She wears bikinis, wears dresses, plenty. If you're looking for sexual content, sexualish content from her, that's as far as a woman can go, and wanting to do it 100% because she enjoys doing it. And you go, oh, that's great. And if you want to consume that, great. But she has a segment on her page called "Insane in the DMs." And she just screenshots the insane things that men send to her, and it's some massive problem that just goes round and round and round and round and round. And I had an idea for how artificial intelligence can be used to combat this. And you create an app, and it's called Waste His Time. And it's like a chat GP, it's so, there's just this patheticness and this weirdness to the men doing this stuff. For example, so the concept of waste is time is when you get a message like this, you can just attach it to your Instagram, and then this artificial intelligence will just string this man along for as long as that person, because the area this comes from. Have you heard two Irish comedians, Mike and Vittorio's Guide to Parenting?
I think I've
They're
been,
absolutely hysterical Irish guys, and when they do their podcast, they're doing it in their home, and they're on a couch, and so they don't have shoes on; they're just wearing socks. And there's this, again, a kink shaming. I don't know if it's kink shaming to say that I can't imagine anything less sexual than a foot, and even more so, I'd be less weirded out by someone who likes bare feet to someone who is turned on by feet in socks. And there's this guy who
Alex's face.
This guy
like,
trust me, it comes
Okay.
trust me, it comes around. This guy would message Vittorio saying, "Oh, hi there. Would you consider sending me some sock pictures? I'm happy to pay." And Vittorio just was doing it as a case study for the podcast. And over the course of 6 months, he kept on going, "Oh yeah, hang on a minute. I'll get round to it soon. Sorry, I've been really busy." "Oh yeah. How much do you want for it?" "Oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah." And this guy kept on at him for 6 months, and eventually Vittorio did it. And then the first thing the guy said back to him was, "This is so hot." And you just Vittorio said he felt dirty as a response to it. But the point is that the men doing this thing, they will not go away unless they're blocked. They throw 100 things out to people, and they just keep on. When they think that they're getting somewhere, they will just push and push and push and push. And the idea of waste is time is you do that. The artificial intelligence basically removes them from your inbox, and they string that person along in that way for as long as possible. And that would it would make men pissed off and angry, but they're going to be like that anyway. And it would just mean that rather than it being, because just blocking someone, they just go, "Oh, never mind, I'll go on to someone else." But if you string them along, that feels like justice to me. So that's another area. Not necessarily, it could be used for, and when you've got perfect voice generation, artificial intelligence, then you could have you could string people along on when you're playing Xbox as well. And just go, "Oh yeah, you're going to be back on tomorrow." "Oh yeah, I am." And then they're playing they're playing against an NPC, and they think, "Yeah, I'm getting somewhere."
To be fair, like that might work for them. So I don't know. So I think. I mean, we're way over time again. We were way over time on our last episode on this, and we were way over time on this. And originally, this was going to be this whole thing was going to be a half-hour episode when we originally conceived of it, and then we were like, yeah, no, it's gonna be a longer topic. It clearly is a really important topic, and it's got a lot going on with it, and there's a lot to unpick with it, and there's a lot to sort of think about and to prepare for. And I think, I said earlier that I'm a bit concerned because we've been so bad at preparing for so much else. The environment being being one of the most important things that and so I am concerned about how things are going to pan out with AI. But I do also think that there is a lot that can benefit from this. And I think that in a lot of ways, I think that groups that have traditionally been forgotten about may find themselves being supported more through AI. Simply by the virtue, I think this is a bit sad, but I think simply by the virtue that it will be quite easy to do it and cheap to do it. So it's kind of like it goes from a nice to have to a actually we can have this option. So I think that would be quite positive. But I do think that we're going to have to be vigilant to make sure that we don't end up in, increasing discrimination, as we discussed in the last episode. So, does anyone have anything they would like to add before we say what our games are that we were talking about right at the start?
No.
I'm sure we'll revisit this topic because it is just a big topic. So I said that I summarised my gaming experience for the last week in 2 words and 1 colour as I think it was death and frustration, and the colour blue. And this is because I've been exploring the Shadowlands in Baldur's Gate, and I just did a big fight, and I died like 10 times, and it was one of those really long fights, I was like dying. It was just I won't say, but anyway, it wasn't going my way, and I ended up swapping out characters 2 or 3 times, changing my party makeup because I was just really struggling. So yeah, it was very frustrating. And I've just recently attached my Hue lights to my laptop, so my computer, so that when I'm gaming, the lights in my room change colour in line with this environment. So it's been, because it's the Shadowlands, it's all very sort of blue light. So that's why it was blue. Alex, what about
Well, mine's a bit of a twist, really. I said very empty and black, didn't I? And that is because I have not been playing games, because I have been waiting on some extra storage, because I've run out of room in which to download more games. So I was hoping to start playing Baldur's Gate or Assassin's Creed Mirage, but the storage on my PlayStation is so full that I have no room for any games, not even small updates now. So we have now acquired an internal hard drive, and we'll be installing it. And the reason I said black is because that's the colour of my TV screen in the last week or so. I had no games to
play. Mine was Italian Apocalypse and red. So I've just been persisting with the ultra hard mode, New Game Plus of Horizon Forbidden West. Of course, I'm playing it in Italian, and it's an apocalypse.
Oh, yes.
And she has red hair, so that was mine. I've also. I'll say this afterwards. Don't worry.
Okay.
Then. We'll find out what that is. So yes, we're on every Thursday, and I don't know what our next topic is going to be, so that's exciting. We are available on Patreon, and we are available on PayPal, and we're accessible on all of your podcasting and video viewing platforms. So please check us out, and if you like what you see, please give us a follow and give us stars and forward us on to some friends who you think might also enjoy it. Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.